Hey, hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Lived Them. This is a podcast based on the experience of being a 911 dispatcher, and this is going to be episode 376. That's right, episode 376. And also, whenever you've come on, or whenever, rather, I have put out an episode, they premiere live, which means they were pre-recorded a week or two earlier, and then they're premiered live. And people are able to go in there and comment and everything else. Well, this one is actually live. So I know I've seen people who jump into the comments. They're like, hey, how's it going? And you probably just wonder why I don't acknowledge you. Well, it's because it's pre-recorded. But this time, we're live. We're here. And this is going to be fun. I've been waiting for a while for us to do this and to also do the reveal that we did last Friday. So this is going to be a good time. This episode is sponsored by InDigital as well as RapidDeploy. However, this is a RapidDeploy exclusive. We have teamed up to do this episode. And again, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about the scavenger hunt and a few other things that we've had going on since last week. We've gotten together and we're posting a lot of different things here. And if you are joining us right now, jump in, throw in some reactions, and roll call. Where are you watching from? I like to gather some of this information here into the comments. And already we have somebody joining in here. Joyce, what is going on? Saying hello and that she has missed the guest that's going to be coming on here. There were a bunch of different ways I was trying to bring him in and stuff. And, the reveal and all of that, we ended up doing good. It was good. And before we get started here, I do want to give a huge shout out to the patrons for everything. Thank you so very much. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for all of you, and especially those that are here right now watching, listening, and also please to share this broadcast and those who support it so that we can get some more people coming in here. So this is going to be good. So my guest today is going to be, well, you know what? Let me see if I can bring him in a different way. And I told him how I was going to do it, but I didn't say what it was going to be. So let me switch my settings here really quick so that everyone is actually able to hear it when I have it come in. So here we go. I have to turn it up just a little bit here. And it's going in. I can only play a little bit of it. Oh, the music isn't coming in where it's supposed to. Who would have thought? Of course, it was going to end up coming in a different place. So let me switch this off over here really quick and see if you're able to hear it now.
Yo, VIP.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right. Here he is.
All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. I my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a barking daily and nightly.
Oh, I don't know. Turn off the mic and now glow.
Should you see rock a mic like a vandal, light up a stage and watch a chump like a candle dance.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, welcome, my brother. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Timm, head of change management at RapidDeploy. How is it going, dude?
Thank you so much for having me, Ricardo. It's going great. And how are you today? National Telecommunicators Week, day 2, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it started yesterday, and let me throw this up here on the screen. Kablamo, that's right. Started on the 11th. So yes, we are on day 2, and this week it's always a fun week, right? Because there's so much stuff that is going on, and especially now, it's even more amplified with social media because you get to see all of the different centers that are doing so much. When we were there, you didn't really hear about what everybody else was doing, right? But now with social media, it just completely exploded. Really, you get to see it all over the place.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so needed. When I started, like you were saying, when I was in 911, 2003 to 2013, social media really hadn't become what it is. 8 years later, the speed of information and technology now is it's just insane. And even though LAPD is a huge agency, and I work with 600 or so other dispatchers, we still were just us. I didn't even know that there was this larger community of telecommunicators across the country until I left LAPD and started doing training and speaking around the country. Only then did I learn about the NINA and the APCO and the various conferences out there. So this is really cool. We get to amplify this message, and we get to also dovetail with the push around the reclassification effort. We've had some real wins just in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of things going on. Of course, the 911 Saves Act has been reintroduced, but Kansas has been they passed through the state there, as their 911 dispatchers and call takers now reclassified as first responders. New Jersey is making their push as well and getting really far. Big shout out to James. Well done over there. He actually testified and was helping push all of that. So excellent work there, my friend. And then just for everybody else who's been doing similar things in states across the country to push and push and push and push, and really just be a huge voice for all of this. But it continues, man. It continues. The mission continues, and it has been really, really cool to see.
Truly.
So what have you been up to, man? What is going on? So you and I have been talking here and there about certain things, but it was funny because when we were first talking about doing this episode, right? We were saying, I was joking with you. I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on like with your social media. Like, I don't ever see you or anything anymore. There's not anything there. And you were kind of laughing. You're like, yeah, kind of fell off there. It's going to be interesting for people to see me pop up here and there as we're teasing that we're going to be doing this.
Yeah, I have been getting my feet wet in the RapidDeploy work, and just really loving the experience, loving the team that I work with. I see Ryan and Steve in the comments there as well, fellow coworkers now.
Yeah.
It's been great, and it's been an interesting shift. So I liken it to like when you have your thing. So the healthy dispatcher and what I was doing before, I felt like I had it down. I knew exactly what I was doing, and the job, and going out to conferences, and like you have a routine, and I'm finding that I'm hitting my stride now with the new routine. So that's really what I've been doing is adjusting and recalibrating, and seeing how amazing it is to work with a company, RapidDeploy, that is giving to the industry in a similar way as I felt like I was doing with the healthy dispatcher and my mission and my message, but on the technology side, and how there is such an opportunity there as well. So I feel honored to be a part of a huge group of people. We're 200 strong and growing here at RapidDeploy, and the sky is the limit. I don't know. I jokingly made this comment on a post on LinkedIn recently, I think it was last week or the week before, that we have been talking about next generation 911 and its impact on the industry and public safety at large for literally 20 years. I stumbled on an article from like 2003 about next gen 911 and what it means. And only really now in the last, I don't know, I think it's a conservative estimate to say that in the last 3 years have we really begun to understand what this thing called next gen 911 really means. And it's in the field of data analytics. It's in the field of being able to know where people are with an extreme level of accuracy and get them the help that they need. I don't know. It's a really exciting time to be on this side, the software side, the technology side of 911, and it's an opportunity that I never imagined. I think that's another thing. It really came out of left field, and I I wound down the Healthy Dispatcher, which was interesting. That's the last time we talked, was just after I made that decision.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been wonderful. It's been challenging. It's been busy. And so and also then there's the pandemic. Like, you add that into everything. So I haven't been out at conferences. I haven't had great pictures to share arm in arm with my friends across the country and the industry. And so my social game has been weak. And thank you for calling me out on that.
Well, I think the last time we were talking about it a little bit, I said, with you popping up here and there, I said this is going to be like a Willy Wonka type factor where, your Healthy Dispatcher, you've got people who are, popping things up, which are awesome because I know who they are and they're awesome. And
oh my gosh, speaking of which, I have to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to Mel Alterio, who has been putting out stuff on the Healthy Dispatcher and the Instagram feed and the Twitter feed. She's been helping out tremendously with that, and they're amazing. The posts have been fantastic.
Yeah. Posts here and there. And I remember seeing them and I thought someone else is running this right now. Cause I know it's not, I know Adam's not, cause I kind of got your style of posting and it wasn't the same. It was still good, but I knew that it wasn't you that was there. And then when you would pop up here and there, I was like, man, this is like Willy Wonka's factory, that one day the smoke just started coming out and people were doing this and that. What's going on? So excuse me. It's awesome to be able to see it continue on and on. And the fact that you're seeing this now on the other side, from the other perspective as well, because just to glance back at myself on my own journey, I remember back then, early 2000s as well, and the time that I'm in dispatch, at the central dispatch that I was at, and people talking about it and saying, yeah, I don't know, the people are saying that there's going to be like texting or something. I was like, what, for real? And then, later on to leave dispatch and then, going on to work for InDigital and being the person who's there speaking from the dispatcher side, the user side, on how to kind of put this together for texting, whether it be text to, text from, either one, and how that would work, and then training dispatchers on it as well, and being a little jealous that I wasn't in dispatch to be able to put this to use. I'm just training them on how to use it. And but it was the coolest thing to be able to influence that from the dispatch side on how they were building it and putting it out there to those who were going to end up using it. It was cool to have that. And I can see that it's the same thing with you as well. You bring all of this experience to the company and the way to shape different things from your perspective, because that's where you come from.
Exactly. And in my role, and I just love that I've been fortunate to find myself in this role, head of change management. Some of the biggest challenges with bringing new tech into PSAPs is the change perspective. Like, we work in an industry where this is the way we've always done it, works just fine. So and I think that's why we've been so slow as an industry to see next gen catch on, is because, like, we don't really have to use the latest technology until we have to. And so I think that we're making the case that you need to, that delays of service aren't acceptable, that there's all this world of technology that's out there to provide a better level of service, more efficient service. And that's really what our industry is all about. And so I'm helping to empower that in a different way now through my role here at RapidDeploy. It's awesome.
And that's good, because I'm sure you'll agree with this, because you said the one phrase that It's we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like that phrase sometimes kills a lot of that innovation. Like, we don't want to change. It's always been like this.
Yeah.
Well, it's a new day. Like, we need to get away from thinking that way. And it's not just with the technology that's coming in, it's also, the mental health and wellness of those who are taking these calls,
Yeah.
and or listening to the radio as crazy shit is going on.
Yeah.
That phrase is kind of what kills off a lot of things. So
Yeah.
it's good that there's a lot of game changers, basically that are coming in to change that train of thought.
Well, yeah, and I think that it comes down to making these changes palatable and easy to digest. So the user experience and the user interface has to be clean. It has to be easy to learn. It has to be it needs to be as close to turnkey as possible, because in the fast-paced life of sitting at a console behind 7 screens, it's very difficult to take the time and have the bandwidth to learn new technology. And so and I think that's one thing that I'm most excited about our software suite and the product that we have, is that it's ready. You turn the switch and you're pretty much hitting the ground running. And that makes change much more palatable when that's the case. When you, first of all, see the value of it just from the bigger why perspective, but also you see how easy it is to use. I think those are very important elements to any tech upgrades in the 911 space. Because as we know, having worked under the headset, the job's difficult enough. Like, I've really thought about that. Like, what is it? What is the real role of a 911 telecommunicator? And I don't believe it is. I mean, this is an auxiliary or secondary thing, is to be an expert in technology, but it's only insofar as the technology enables them to help more people more quickly. That's it. So, like, the real superpower of those who work in 911 is being able to talk to somebody in their worst moment, while also coordinating the response of field responders, while also putting that information into the CAD, while also listening to their coworkers give location updates, while also, like, all of those things are the depth of the profession and the professionals who work in it. The technology, it's just a what's the word? It's like if it enables, if it's a conduit for which the everyday superheroes that are 911 professionals across the country can do that work more effectively.
Yeah,
from my perspective.
I agree, man. There's all of that is, that is coming in. You see it all over social media and stuff, but you also see sometimes in different groups, or even with different people that you talk to. And this was a subject when I was still working over there at In Digital. How are we going to bring some of this technology in? Because now, you got to think about even more so the mental health and wellness of those who are answering, whether it be text or video, because now they're going to be seeing so much more stuff. How do we prepare for that? How does one prepare for it? So, like, when we were talking to different centers on testing some stuff, we would say, how do you want this to come in? Because we want to take that information from you and really mold it for you. If an image is coming in, do you want, would you rather it go to, like a supervisor, or have the ability to just simply send it in a message over MCT or something to an officer? How do you want to see this? Because there's no, as far as I know, there's not a standard, right, for how certain things are going to be sent out. So, how do we prepare our 911 professionals to be seeing a lot more of that stuff? Because you, for a better part of, I don't know how many years you were doing it, you were training on a lot of this, resilience kind of building that armor and all.
Yeah.
And there's just more that now you gotta think about as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's been a couple of studies out regarding incident-related imagery. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeremy DeMar's research and thesis. And I mean, I think that's been the biggest challenge looking out. And I intentionally didn't say looking forward, because I don't think many are looking forward to having video and looking forward to pictures and incident-related imagery. Because we signed up to, in a lot of ways, for those of us who have been in the profession for some period for a good amount of time, we signed up to answer the phone call. And when we hang up that call, we know that we're on to the next call, or there's at least some separation. So what happens when those images you're stuck with those images? I don't know. I heard an interesting perspective, and it's almost a contrarian perspective. And I wonder if this is possibly going to be the case. Not to downplay the impact of seeing images and video of what's on scene, but we have a tendency as type A overachievers, those of us who work in this profession, we have a tendency to imagine the worst case scenario, even if it's like a minor traffic collision. If the person's freaking out on the other end of the line, we're imagining it's an ambulance traffic and that there is a potential loss of life, and we're rolling paramedics, code 3. And this perspective I heard at a conference, and it was a couple of years back, the person said, "I'm looking forward to seeing more from the scene, because I have a feeling that we'll find out that it's not as bad as it's portrayed, or it's not as bad as I imagine." And that was the first contrarian position I was ever given. Everyone else is like, it's going to be much worse than we can imagine, and it may be, but it's also possible that we get some closure. That's one of the biggest things in our profession, is like we have no closure. We're on to the next call. We're on to the next crazy incident. So what if we see, oh, actually it's not as bad as I imagine, and it's not as bad as the caller said, and I'm able to quickly get on to the next call, both like literally and mentally, and close it that way.
What's interesting about that theory is, about a year or so ago now, one of the 911 organizations reached out because they were doing like this future article type thing. They had a bunch of people writing articles about what 911 would be like in the future, 50 years from the time that those articles were going out. And they asked me to write a piece, and I kept trying to think of what to write. And I thought, I'm going to do this as, almost like a time capsule type thing, where 50 years from now, a dispatcher finds like this capsule with all of these different writings, and one of them is mine. It's just like an entry, and it's talking about what happened from like 2016, 50, and then, between that time. And that one of the things that we found out was that when all of the video and pictures and everything was coming through, that what we really and the people didn't want to move forward towards it, but that's what it was. That it was that we actually found closure through actually seeing all of this stuff, because it's stuff that we don't ever see, and that it was more so on the centers, but also the counties and everything, switching their funds not only to training, but also to be able to do different things to build resilience and that type of training and therapy, because they were now seeing things, but also it was surprising that by seeing all of this, we were gaining some form of closure in it, and we were able to deal with it a lot better. It's crazy that you say that.
It's really a novel idea, and it dawned on me that's a huge part of it. And so we start talking about other ways to build that toolkit. And from my perspective, it's a toolkit of career longevity. I saw someone in the comment thread, Dawn Bennett, she commented about 20 minutes ago, angry Adam. So for those of you who know that story,
She did.
She did. For those of you who know my story, I had a tough time for the first, I worked 10 and a half years as a frontline telecommunicator. And for the first 7 years, I had a really tough time with the stress of the job. And for me, it wasn't the 911 calls. I felt like 911 calls were my opportunity to do what I signed up to do, help people, make a difference. I had a really tough time with the non-emergency calls, and I was not nice to people. And I'm not proud to say that I didn't make the agency look good. I didn't make myself look good. Like if you were to pull some of those tapes, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed about my conduct and the way that I interacted with, and I think I have a tendency to explain it away by saying, you know, there were non-emergency callers, loud parties, and loud groups, and barking dogs, and you know, we've all dealt with that. Those of us who worked in the industry. But the truth is, these folks were calling for help, and many of them didn't know. The success of the 911 system is a victim, or the 911 system is a victim of its own success. Like everyone knows to dial 911. And they also know that if I'm having an emergency, which that's subjective, that something I call an emergency, I dial 911. And what I found is that I didn't have the tools, the toolkit of resilience, and the toolkit of keeping things straight in my mind. Like I really had to, at the 7-year mark, I was forced to consider if I knew what my real job was underneath the headset. I had to say that my job was to provide help in whatever way I could. And I realized that I had a huge toolkit, a huge toolbox of tools that I could use to assist every single caller, even if it was simply an informed, I'm sorry, that's not something that we dispatch for. But in the event that you need us again, please feel free to call. If I could say just that in a kind, compassionate, and considerate way, it was very different than, what are you calling here for? Oh, you know that there's shootings and stabbings going on in the city right now.
Right.
Right? It's the same. You're saying the same thing. I can't help you, but how you choose to conduct yourself is a huge thing. Like, do we know that we have a choice? So I moved into that kind of, Jim Marshall talks about choice points, that there's these choice points that we have in our life, in our career, and I would argue in any shift at the console, we get to choose how we want to treat people, how we want to conduct ourselves. And for the last 3 years of my career before I left to launch the Healthy Dispatcher, I chose differently than my default, which it was still a choice. For the first 7 years, my default was still a choice, even though it lacked awareness and it lacked kindness and all those things. It still was a choice to not build my toolkit. And it was a class. I took a mindfulness meditation class at the 7-year mark. And I think the biggest gift that I received in that 6-week class was self-awareness. I learned, so I was 30 years old when I took that class. And I like to say that it was my third decade on the planet where I actually started to come online. And I realized that through just sitting and being still, that I was the common denominator in all of my challenges that I had been blaming everybody else for. What an epiphany, what an opportunity to wake up. Like I had been so busy blaming everybody else that I had completely given my power away. And then your opportunities for choice expand so much more when you see all of the ways in which you give your power away on a daily basis. So I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am, blaming it on this thing, but it's actually me. And here I am blaming it on traffic, and it's actually me because I left too late. And here I am. I think that was a huge turning point, and it grew from there. The toolkit.
How was the sting? That realization, how was that sting? I ask because I was, it was the same way in my, like, that burnout stage. And it was, and everybody who's watching this right now and those who are listening, and if you're watching on playback, whichever, we've probably all had a moment where we don't realize that sometimes some of the stuff we're going through is right here, right?
Yeah.
You look in the mirror, and that's where the issue is, because nobody wants to admit it, and everyone wants to blame other things that's going on. But then when you finally hit that realization, it's like, oh, the sting kind of hurts, but it's also good, because it also kind of it kind of relieves some of the pressure, where you finally are able to move on and start building and building upon all of that. So for you, when you realize that moment, I mean, how much of a stress relief was that for you?
Well, I think it was very stressful leading up to that moment. And when I realized that there was an opportunity, there was space to breathe. So it was a relief. However, that dawning realization was momentary relief, as I understood how much more work I had to do.
Oh man. Yeah, because it doesn't stop, right? Because you made that first step. There's always that first step, but then you have to move on from there and figure out what's next.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's so much that comes from it, but I mean, look at now. Look at everything that's going on now. You end up leaving there, and the angry Adam is part of your story, and it'll always be part of your story. But it's also a triumph through struggle type scenario.
Yeah, truly it is. And I think that it resonates with folks, and the reason why it's brought up in my feed, in this feed here. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Sabrina. Hey, Tiffany. Thanks for being here. Is because we all have those moments. I don't know anyone who has worked in 911 who hasn't had it. And if you haven't had those moments on a recorded line, and I hope you haven't, then you certainly have had those moments in your mind directed towards someone you're trying to help, but you can't help, or doesn't want help. So yeah, I think it's that's the huge challenge, is working in a helping role, and knowing that you can help, but not everyone wants the brand of help that we can provide.
That's true. that is very true, man. There's always going to be some sort of obstacle. There's always going to be something to navigate, but it's up to us, like you said, to make that choice. I had given a talk a few weeks ago for the Iowa conference, and part of my talk dealt with that as well. It was basing it off of just a minor fender bender that happened, where this guy backed up and just smashed the side of my car, up in front, just in the corner there, kind of smashed it. And my brother was a little more upset with it than I was, but I associated that with how, when we're taking phone calls, that it's all in how we respond, how the situation is going to work out. Because I could have been pissed off and gotten out of the car and said crap to this guy who hit my car, but instead I decided to just be nice. And of course, right away I asked him, "Are you all right?" And because I could tell that he was freaking out already. He goes, I'm fine. Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, dude. Just, it's okay. We're all safe." And I remember my brother saying, I can't believe that I'm more upset about this than you. And I said, dude, again, it's all in how you react to this. I'm not
Yeah.
going to let this ruin my day. I said, no one is hurt. My car has got a black eye, but that's about it. It's going to get
Yeah.
fixed.
Yeah.
And I was telling those who were in the session that it's the same way when they're answering phone calls. Like, you could choose to be annoyed or something, but it's also going to probably screw up the call because the caller is going to realize that you are annoyed or whichever.
Yeah.
And if that's the first time that they're calling in,
Yeah.
that's what they're going to attribute, every time they call in, if they call in another time,
Yeah.
or they might not call in because they had such a bad experience. So it's all in how you choose to do it and the path that you take on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it sounds easy. Actually, let me correct myself. It sounds simple, but it isn't easy.
Yeah.
And so you start to say, okay, well, that's what I want. I want when someone's yelling at me, when I say 911 emergency, or I say on the non-emergency line, if I'm working non-emergency, I say, how may I help you? What are you reporting? And suddenly they're just yelling at me. I want to be able to just kill them with kindness. And I had a coworker who would do that. I would hear her sing-songy, sugary sweet disposition with everyone, no matter how surly the person. And she would just say, "Oh, sweetie, you just have to wait for the police. We will be there just as soon as we can." And there's no sarcasm at all in her tone. She would just say, "And if anything else comes up, you just call us and let us know." Okay, thank you so much. And she would talk to the next caller like that every single call for 100 calls a shift. And it was amazing because I was grappling through the darkness of those days. And you say, okay, I want to do that. How do you do that? Well, it's not only your conduct in the center. It's how much time do you take for the things that matter to you. If you pride yourself on being a family person, yet you can't remember the last time you actually had quality time with your family. You've been hanging out with your siblings recently. I've seen some pictures, Ricardo, and your kids. The 911 family is a family and have families, but so often we get sucked into the busyness of life and we don't prioritize family, and that creates this kind of baseline feeling of discontentment. And so we really have to replenish and give back to ourselves. So we are kind of venturing into this realm of self-care. And so many of us think that self-care is selfish. And so we don't prioritize it because what would those people think if I were to say no? It's because they're so used to me saying yes. So it starts like, we have to reverse engineer that process and say, okay, I want to have the bandwidth to be kind and courteous to even the most angry callers. How do we get there? Well, for the next 2 weeks, I need to be really good to myself. I need to shut off social media. I need to stop binge watching reality TV. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch a few of your favorite shows because you're rewarding yourself for a week or a day hard one. But there is a difference between binge watching because you're just disconnecting from reality because you just can't anymore, and watching a couple of shows because you just love those shows. So you start there, and then having some active coping strategies like some breathing techniques. Tactical breathing is pretty great. The 4-4-4-4 breath or box breathing, if you're familiar with that. Have you heard of that tool?
I've probably done it, but I've probably not heard it like that. I do a lot of different breathing methods for like meditation and yoga and such. So I probably have, just not that term.
Well, the Navy SEALs started using it, and that's where it got coined tactical breathing. But it's just breathing in to a count of 4, holding to a count of 4, breathing out to a count of 4, holding to a count of 4, and doing that 4 times, 4 cycles, brings you right back into the present moment. And because you're engaging your thinking mind by counting the breath, you're bringing your mind in direct contact with the breath, and the breath is in the here and now. And so you stop that kind of runaway onslaught of oftentimes negative thoughts that propel us ever forward and perpetuate our daily stress.
So, as we're talking about this, and callers and everything, and kind of looking at what this week is all about as well.
Mm.
What was this week like for you, for all of you? Because so there's the self-care that we're talking about, of course,
Yeah.
but there is, all of the stress and everything that just comes with the job in general. But when we get to this week, for me specifically, I know that there would be times where there's just a lot of crap that's going on, of course, in dispatch. And then I would be like kind of counting the days sometimes as this week is about to start, because I knew that for one, we were going to be fed very well.
Yeah.
and that would that kind of gives a little comfort as well, that it's
Yeah.
like, they care, they're hooking us up with stuff. But also, kind of that recognition as well of the job that we do. And of course, every day there should be some sort of recognition, but also we don't always want that, right? Like, we don't
Right.
always want to thank you or anything, but every so often is kind of cool. But especially during this week, it's cool to get something from like really everyone is putting stuff out there. So for you though, how is this, how was it for you?
This whole week at Communications Division was pretty awesome. We would have open houses, and so they would have various groups come through the center. This was definitely the week where we saw many, many more officers come through communications and just stop by and thank us. There was food for all watches every single day, so we ate well as well. The Station Fund, which was a volunteer committee of folks who worked in the center, reached out to businesses in the area, and so there was swag and giveaway opportunities. We had raffles. I mean, it really was a celebration. The supervisory staff really went all out all week long. It was great. It was, and yeah, we didn't need recognition for the job that we did each day, but it sure felt good to have this week dedicated to us.
With everything that you do and your experience leading up to, and you still, practice as well as you're, working for RapidDeploy and such. How do you think this week also impacts those that are answering, the call or the radio or whichever, working there in the 911 center? What do you think that, how do you think that impacts just their mental stability, their wellness, all of it?
Yeah, great question. I think that we, as an industry, 911 specifically, have prided ourselves on being the unsung heroes. Always never seen, always heard, and I think that is fine. And it can be a source of pride, but what we're seeing the need for is coming out of the shadows and saying we are an integral part to the public safety ecosystem. It does not work without us. And this week moves, I believe that this week and for the last several years especially, and for the years to come, moves us forward as an industry as far as being a part of that conversation. We have a seat at the table, and it's becoming more and more so each year as more and more states say 911 telecommunicators are first responders. They designate them first responders. And so I think it's becoming more and more important this week from my perspective. What do you think?
Yeah. I believe so. Just as we are talking, about the wellness, mental health of those answering the call and everything, that recognition, but also, in some places, and in some places do it often anyway. But I feel like during this week, I see more and more of therapy dogs that are coming through, and seeing dispatchers and call takers interact with them, and then again, I get a little jealous, like, damn, I wish I had a puppy that came through, man, when I was there. Because it would be cool just to have one just kind of
Yeah.
chilling there, or even a cat just like this.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things that this week does in impacting the way everybody looks, especially now that there are so many more things going on. Not so much the show on Fox, but the show on ABC
Yeah.
where they're showing more of what it's
Real
like
stories.
being in, right, yeah, real stories of
Mhm.
what it's like for dispatchers taking that call and listening to them talk about how that affects them and impacts them. I think it really highlights even more so what it is that those do when they're answering the call and what it's like for them.
Yeah.
um, let's
I
see,
think
I'm
I
looking
think the
at,
why is really important. So you asked about
yes.
like how does this help with mental wellness? I think um, we don't get into it for recognition, but recognition of a job well done is like, oh, that feels good, and the why is like, I signed up to help people.
Hmm.
I signed up to make a difference, and through this week of recognition, and I will emphatically say that 1 week a year is not enough, but at least this 1 week we go all out saying you are seen, your efforts make a difference, and I that's 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 wonderful.
Hmm.
It's wonderful to see, and to know that it's known.
Yeah, and Michelle here in the comments says that also seeing the governor's proclamation is really boosted morale
Love it.
statewide.
I love it. And
That
congrats, Michelle, to the state of Kansas.
Yeah, for their classification and everything
Yeah.
coming up. So that as well, has been a big um, morale booster as well. Now,
Mhm.
as we're talking about this, there was something that we teamed up with, and there's something that I want to share with everyone who's watching this right now, and those who are going to watch on replay. If you're watching this after April 16th, I apologize because it won't work. But let me share this here really quick and confirm this is recorded. Nancy, yes, this is this is right now. We're live. It's also recorded. It'll be available immediately after we're done for playback on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. And I'm also going to be posting it up on LinkedIn, and it'll be available anywhere you listen to podcasts. So it's going to be all over the place. So you'll be able to check it out. So there is a scavenger hunt that we ended up teaming up for, and I want to show every single clue because all the clues have already gone out. I did, however, when I was looking at all of the tiles, there the last one I thought was just like a well, I won't say what I was going to say because it's actually part of the answer. But the last tile said the answer on there. I was like, I got to make sure not to share that one. But so the first tile here is, and I want to read this. And also, like I said, for all of you who are watching right now, these are the clues for this scavenger hunt that we have teamed up on as Rapid Deploy and Within the Trenches Media. So let me share this first one here. So this is clue one, and as I'm gonna get started to read this, I'm gonna share a couple links here. Now, in order to complete this scavenger hunt, you need to visit both of these links. And basically, these links are to not only my website, but also the website for Rapid Deploy. So their website as well. So let me share this really quick. Okay, so those two things are things that you need in order to do your searches and everything for this scavenger hunt. So, clue one, in the Rapid Deploy blog published on February 16th, we gave 5 reasons why we are revolutionizing public safety with this company. What is the last letter in the name of the company? So that's clue 1. Again, you've got these 2 links. You can go and search for the answer. And what you're going to do is you see down on the bottom where it says 1 and 2, clue 1, clue 2, those answers for each one they associate with these blanks here. So clue 2, and Within the Trenches podcast, episode 360, features Monica, a dispatcher, supervisor, and trainer for this county emergency communications in Kansas. What is the first letter in the name of the county that she works for? So that's clue 2. Okay. I'm going to go through these at a regular pace and share these, because I think there's about 8 clues. So let me yeah, let me go through these really quick. And these are going to be, again, your clues. If you have the answer for this, Michelle says, I might know that one. Oh, well, don't share it here though. If you know the answer, make sure to go to RapidDeploy's Facebook page and send the answer to their inbox, and you can go from there. And so here's the next one. Let me share this next one here. So clue number 3, the birth of the I Am 911 movement was on the 24th of this month in 2016. What is the first letter of this month? That is clue number 3. Michelle says, I will abstain. Thank you. Clue 4 says, in RapidDeploy's case study with ProMed Ambulance, this cloud-aided dispatch solution enabled ProMed to deploy dispatch in less than 6 months. What is the first letter of this solution? Again, the links that I put out there are the links that you need in order to get the answers for each one of these clues. All right. I feel like I'm running a game show. So let me pull up the next one here. And let's see. This will be clue 5 and 6. So clue 5, in the RapidDeploy blog published on April 6, RapidDeploy's Radius Plus receives a statewide rollout to this state. What is the first letter of the state? All right. First letter of the state. Clue number 6. Since 2016, our mission has been to reduce emergency response times and improve blank. Fill in those blanks. What is the last letter in the sentence? So there is clue 5 and 6. Once again, you've got the links for that. And if you know the answer, down at the bottom, if you know the answer, go to RapidDeploy's Facebook page, send them a message to their inbox, and give them the answer. And if you won, well, you'll get something awesome. So here's clue 7 and 8 coming up here. And it says, Within the Trenches presents these live sessions where they talk about the lighter side of dispatch. What is the first letter of the name of these sessions? Hint, check social media. I'm sure all of you know what that is. So clue 8 says, only blank critical response can transform every 911 center into a data-centric organization and deliver new levels of situational awareness. Fill in the blank. What is the first letter of this word? So that is clue 7 and 8 there. And here's the last clue. Here we go. I'm going to share it right here. If I click the right button. All right, here it is. Clue number 9. When you need help, who you going to call? And they always answer. Hint, it's not the Ghostbusters. Woo! All right, that's clue 9. Those are all the clues for this scavenger hunt. Once again, make sure to use those links that I shared earlier to be able to get the answer to the scavenger hunt. And once you've got it, head over to RapidDeploy's Facebook page, send them a message in their inbox with the answer, and they will get you further on the scavenger hunt. And there's going to be some cool stuff that comes from it if you got the answer there. Also, make sure you've got or you get that in before April 16th. That is the cutoff. And then next week is when they will reveal all the winners and the prizes. So again, make sure to check that out. It's going to be awesome. And there's going to be an article, actually, they're going to be posting up here shortly after the end of this episode. Make sure to check that out, read it, share it, and react. And thank you all very, very much. Now, we were talking about resilience here, and as we go into the wrap up of this episode, there's some training that you guys are working on, and it's going to be through RapidDeploy. If you can give a little information on that and where they can find out more about it, but also just in general, more about what the company is doing.
Yeah, so we put together a dispatcher stress resilience training class, and it will be delivered through our learning management system. And for those on the call who are using RapidDeploy products, you'll be able to use RapidDeploy Academy to access the dispatcher stress resilience class. It's a 15 or 20-minute class that's interactive, and I did the voiceover work on it. And it includes kind of a walkthrough of all of the self-care techniques that we've been talking about during our conversation here, as well as a few other bonuses for heightening our awareness around what we're going through, and then using proactive tools to combat the feelings of burnout and re-engage the job, kind of like we've been able to do.
Awesome, man. It has been excellent to have you on. And just for anybody who wants to know more about RapidDeploy in general, where can they find more information?
Please come to our website, rapiddeploy.com. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our products and you want to do a demo or something like that, you can send me an email directly. You can also find me on Facebook or any of the social handles, but my email is adam.timm, Timm, @rapiddeploy.com. And I'm happy to put you in touch with our teams here. But yeah, super exciting stuff. And Ricardo, thank you so much for the invitation to be here to have this conversation with you. And I will say on behalf of everyone who enjoys your shows every single week, thank you for the work that you do. You have been a voice in the darkness since we knew we needed that voice, and you do amazing work, and it's an honor to be here to have this conversation and share the stage with you, truly.
Dude, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. It means a lot. It's been an experience, and it's been really good. And speaking of experience, one last question for you as we're wrapping this up here. When you look back at your days in dispatch and your experience through all of that, what are you most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for the opportunity to have served in a way that I didn't even know I was asking for. I've always been a helper. I've always put others in my personal life, others' needs ahead of my own. I got an opportunity to do that professionally as a job. I got to show up in service, and I don't know as if a lot of people get to definitively say that. I got to help people. I got to save lives. I know that people are alive today because of my efforts at a console, and that's an amazing opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, man, again, for the kudos, for the support, and just for everything that you do as well. It's always awesome to have you on, and finally we got to have you on and have this conversation. It has been really, really good. So I thank you so very much.
And thank you to Sabrina and Wes Jones. Thanks for joining live here too. And Duda, great to see you as well, and everyone else who joined live. Let's not be strangers. Let's do this again soon.
For sure, man. I will be right back here with you. For those who are watching, if you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that is going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, it's wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That's going to be @911podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches podcast. This episode was sponsored by InDigital as well as RapidDeploy. However, this was a RapidDeploy exclusive. We teamed up to do this episode to talk about National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week 2021. Thank you all out there for everything that you do. And also, we teamed up for the scavenger hunt. So make sure to go look for those clues and get that answer. You're going to love it. And also reach out to them on their social media in their inbox to give that answer. And next week, they will be announcing the winners of an awesome prize that they have. So again, make sure to check that out. And thank you to RapidDeploy as well as to all of the patrons. Once again, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for all of you, and especially those that are here who are watching, listening, sharing, and supporting. It's been an amazing experience, and it's just been really good. So thank you all so very much. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter, and I'm going to be adding it to LinkedIn here shortly. And this can be heard 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and have an excellent week. It's only Monday. There's so much more that's going to be coming up. Make sure to tune in for it, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.